Hey there, it's Barb Patterson. Welcome back to the Universe of Business and Life podcast. Today is a solo episode and one that's coming just in time, real time from my own life. I just launched a program with a friend and colleague, Lily Seiss, called the 30 Days Express to Expand Challenge. One of the core foundational things we're talking about over these 30 days is creativity. And the innate capacity we all have for creative thinking, for fresh thinking. It's often overlooked because creativity can get put in the bucket of works of art or great meals. It becomes about this beautiful thing that gets created. And in that, what often happens is we don't realize, like every single one of us, me and you, is using our innate capacity for creativity every day. For instance, I was out to dinner with my family on Saturday night, and we started talking about potential vacation and where to go and what to do. And in that, we were talking about how many and what it would look like and all of that. That conversation is an act of creativity. We were imagining into a potential future. Another example is I have a good friend, Janae, and she's a producer, one of the many things that she does. And she was recently out in the Pacific Northwest. We both happened to be there at the same time, and she was doing her scouting trip, checking out locations and potential options. Well, in the midst of that, the client was changing their mind. You know, those of you that work with clients, I'm sure you can appreciate how often this happens. So they're getting close to the deadline for when the shoot is actually going to take place. They have people they have to hire, talent, all of that. And the client wants to change the direction. Well, I watched my friend Janae and her colleagues shift, get creative, think about it. Now, what it required for them was they might have had an initial reactivity to the change, like it can happen for all of us, but they stayed in the conversation of possibility. And as a result, they got some new ideas. So this ability and the seeing and the recognizing that creativity is not just in the realm of beautiful works of art, but creativity is innate and an everyday, ordinary, common capacity that we all have is a really powerful orientation. And if you can start to see it, what it does for you is it gives you something to put your certainty in. It gives you a place to rest because we are in the unknown all the time, you could probably say. I know it looks like a lot of the time we know what we know, but I think the older I get, the more I might think that, we're in the unknown all the time and it's a trick of the mind that we actually think we know. Anyway, I digress. Coming back to really seeing that I can't predict an outcome. I can't predict how it will go. I can't predict what will happen. So I can't put my confidence and my certainty in those things, but I can in my ability to be creative, to be agile, to be able to respond. I might have some wobbles, some ups and downs, some feelings about it all, but as a friend and colleague Brooke says, ideas are like rabbits in the hat. There's an infinite supply of ideas available to us that every day we have the potential to tap into that creative intelligence and pull more rabbits out of the hat, to experience fresh thinking, a fresh perspective. Again, coming back to how ordinary this is, often this will happen. They say the most common places where people get their great ideas are in the shower, driving, nature. And, a lot of people, when I share that, tell me exercise as well. I'll just have to take, their word for that. But this idea that in those moments we'll often have, oh, that's what I could do, or, oh, that's what's happening here. that is not because of the shower or the drive or nature, and definitely not because of the exercise, right? It's what's happening in those moments is our mind clears. Our minds get more spacious. Often we're not even thinking about the thing. And in the absence of ruminating on it, in the absence of, more effort around it, what happens is naturally we begin to access new ideas and fresh thinking and those aha moments. Just the other day, as a part of this program, Lily and I are both kind of stretching our edges as well. Where are we sort of more comfortable, and where would it serve us to maybe expand our options, to widen where we might play in our own expression? So for me, that's been on social media. I kind of have this inconsistent idea around it. And so I'm just treating it more lightly and playing with it over the 30 days. Well, one of the things we were talking about was, can you just be more spontaneous? Like, ideas come to us and then my mind can start to curate them. Okay, well, what can I do with that? How can I make it more effective, more impactful? What would the people that I want to share it with, how would they feel about it? How do I say it? So pretty soon I've sort of stopped the natural flow of that creativity. And I'm now trying to do more with it. I'm trying to improve upon it, have it be more strategic, have it make sense. And again, I'm not saying that doesn't ever make sense, but for the sake of this particular exercise that day, the edge was, can you have a thought and just share it without much thinking, without trying to improve upon it? So I had been kind of like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to do. And, but again, it was spontaneity. So I just knew, okay, at some point over the next few days, something will occur to me. Well, sure enough, the next morning, it's about 4:30 in the morning. Yes, I have a tendency to wake up early. And often as a part of my routine, I may turn on in the background YouTube, some binaural beats or some music, whatever it might be. And as I was turning on the TV that morning, there was a message on the TV that showed up: check your source, check your input. And it was in that moment I had this kind of laughed. I laughed to myself and I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I should check my source, my own internal source. Where am I coming from inside myself in this moment? And can I drop into the deeper dimension of who I am? And as I saw that, I instantly thought, oh, I could spontaneously share this. So in the spirit of the exercise, I picked up my phone, I turned it on, and I started recording. Well, at 4:30 in the morning, I had absolutely no makeup on, still in my pajamas, had not brushed my hair, and did it anyway. Now, after it was done, I had a thought like, oh, really? Are you going to do that? And again, because I don't believe I can ask people in the program to do anything I'm not willing to do, I went ahead with it and posted it. Now, here's the thing. I had a lot of could have been better. Did I, am I really doing this? What are people going to think? I had some of that noise. But in the spirit of wanting to allow the creative flow to come through me, to follow through on those creative nudges, to let those free forming ideas have a voice and a presence, and put my certainty and confidence in that direction, I went ahead and did it. But what I want to talk about here is that moment that came through and said, oh, this could be it. The moment that I was sitting watching TV and had that thought, oh, that's funny. The TV is giving me direction on what to do. That's really helpful. Like, that was all happening in the moment in real time in life. That's an example of creativity, of the creative intelligence working through us. And what I want to talk about here is how that can be helpful to us, not just in the day-to-day, but also in our work and in our lives and in our relationships. Recently I was working with this company And I was working with 3 leaders. And they were the CEO, founder, and a couple of the executive team members. And they had been trying to problem solve an issue within the organization. And they brought me into their meetings. And when we were sitting there having the discussion and talking about it, what happened was you could see the place at which they would keep revisiting. It was like a revolving conversation, and nothing fresh was coming in, no matter how hard they tried. And you could feel in that where the mood in the room went down, where tension was there, where people were getting a little frustrated or just disappointed, aggravated that it wasn't going, that nothing new was coming. But when we began to talk about that the creative access and fresh thinking doesn't reside in what we know. It doesn't reside in the familiar patterns. It doesn't reside in old thinking, right? Fresh is in the new, in the unknown. What we decided to do was to do some things that would just create more spaciousness, including they took a break and did a couple of other things. And then as their mood and internal climate naturally rose, right? They just got more lifted, they got more open. What happened was we started to play with the issue, but took out the ingredient that it had to be done now and it had to be resolved. We had to let go of all the thinking that this was a big issue and something was at stake if we didn't get it figured out. Like all of that thinking was actually constricting their ability to see with more perspective and more creativity. So over a couple of days, we were doing that. That's kind of checking in, doing that, laying it down, coming back. And sure enough, fresh thinking came in. They started to get excited and they started to see new ideas. And that happened because they were able to let their inner climate guide them and show them when they were getting more constricted. They knew, okay, step away. I'm doing too much internally around this. Or when they got more gripped or more urgent, those were all red flags and signals for them to kind of step away. So they didn't have to go read a bunch of new textbooks. They didn't have to go and hire new team members. They knew that if they could just hang in there and navigate and do their best to stay open and tap into what's already there, that innate creativity, that answers would come. And sure enough, they did. Now, that wasn't surprising to me. I've seen it over and over and over again in my own life and with my clients, that our capacity to have an aha moment, to have more perspective, to have a creative idea come through is there. All that happens is often we don't realize that we've shut our thinking down because we think we know what will work or what won't work. We shut our thinking down because we're looking to the past as a reference. And in the past is a lot of rules and missteps and, a lot of knowing. So again, the more willing we get to sit in what we don't know, to just open to a wider lens, to hear those thoughts that are going to come like that won't work. You tried that before. So-and-so isn't capable of that. Whatever those thoughts be, if you could just take them less seriously, let them move on, let them kind of go and do your best to stay open, you will discover that you're going to get ideas. And when those ideas come, rather than shooting them down, stay open, lean into them, take a step. Take action. So similar to when I got the thought about the TV and check your source, I picked up the phone and started recording. This team, as soon as they started to see an opening, they stayed there. And they would catch themselves when their thinking would start to want to shut the conversation or that idea down. They were able to just continue to stay open. And what happened was, again, new ideas came in. I think there's a quote from Martha Beck that says something like, if it's not working, don't try harder. I think this is just such a great quote in relationship to what we're talking about. that often when we can't find our way, we can't figure something out, it just looks hopeless or discouraging, we will push an effort harder with our thinking. We'll ruminate, we'll process, we'll analyze, we'll keep returning to it, but we don't get anywhere. And most of the time, the reason we aren't getting anywhere is because we aren't appreciating that the quality of our internal state is going to shape our ability to see something new. So when we're more gripped, agitated, irritated, righteous, we think we know, those are all creativity clampers. I don't know, making up words as I go along here, but those all, in a way, bend the hose on the creative flow rather than keeping it open. When we allow the thinking to come, we hold it all, we lean into some of these ideas like, well, why not? Could that work? Rather than why it won't work, how could it work? Rather than seeing constrictions around timing or the parameters you have to play with in your business, what if those aren't restrictions, but it's just an opportunity to say, and now what? Oh, okay. I thought we were going to be launching in 60 days. Now that's not going to happen. What the mind will do is all the problems with missing that deadline. But if you stay open and you say, okay, what else is possible? What haven't we considered? What might be possible there? You will see that you'll get creative ideas. Again, coming back to the knowing that who you are in your innate core is this creative, resilient, empowered being. That beyond thought, beyond our personality, beyond our behavior, resides this innate well of resourcefulness, this innate well of being. And from that, we find our way. We navigate all the bumps. From that, we get fresh thinking. And as Brooke says, that well, that hat of creative thinking is endless. So I want to encourage you over the next week, over the next couple days, where would letting go of all the ideas you have about something, letting them go and allowing yourself to be more open serve you? Perhaps it's around a situation at home. Perhaps it's around your life. Perhaps it's around your work, a particular relationship. Where would less knowing serve you and more open to what is fresh, what is new? Where would it serve you to put your confidence in something will occur to you versus having to know and having it all figured out? I look forward, as always, to hearing any reflections you have. Thank you so much for being here. If you know anyone that would benefit from this episode, please share it. And if you're inclined, a shout out and review on Apple or Spotify is really helpful to us as well. Thank you and have a great rest of your day.